Hey, what's up guys? Templestorm Ratsmah here, and I'm here with another arena video guide. And today we're going to be doing a Paladin draft, arena draft guide.
I will
So
serve.
let's get into it. First pick here, Azure Drake. I think that's fine. One thing you always want to think about as Paladin is a class that really rides the board momentum really well, meaning that it snowballs really well, and you need a really good early game. And there's a lot of strong early game cards like Shield Mini or Muster of Battle or any powerful start that Paladin has only amplifies their effectiveness in game. So for early game cards, we want high quality cards, no 2/2s. We want things like 2/3s, preferably over 3/2s for early game, and just like really good tempo cards. Argent Lance being one of those, and just anything that'll get us on the board early, so we can dictate trades. That way, when we use things like Divine Shield to trade, we'll end up getting more value, and we'll be able to actually do some trades with Argent Protector because we will be in the lead on the board. But here, instead of Valid Teacher, which is slightly smaller than the average 4, I'll take the Azure Drake. It is a little bit slower, which goes against kind of what I was saying, but it is a later game card, so we're not as worried. And Harvest Golem is a pretty good example of a strong early game card. Something that'll get us on board. Winning the board early. Has a lot of stats packed into it, and it'll allow us to control the board for hopefully the mid and late game. Shattered Sun is good, and once again, since we already kind of draft in a way where we control the board, we want to pick up more cards that benefit from that. So if we think that we're going to be able to make trades with things like Argent Protector, any kind of Divine Shield buff, any Blessing of King, stuff like that, even something like Shattered Sun will do quite well. Consecration seems like a slightly better card. I do like having Stand Against Darkness. It is weak against AoE, especially cards that don't even like if they use a Blizzard against it, it's bad, but if they use something like Ravaging Ghoul or Twilight Sorcerer, it's even worse because they get a minion on top of that. So here I think I'll just take the Consecration. It is a really good card to stand against, just because it does make it more likely that you'll have something to attack back with. And with a bunch of 1/1s out there, it's a lot more difficult for your opponent to clear as long as they don't have the AoE to do so. Consecration versus Argent Protector. We already have one Consecration, and we do have the Azure Drake synergy as well, which I kind of like. This is actually a very difficult pick. This is the kind of pick you want to see if you end up with a deck that ends up being more late game oriented, in which case Consecration would be better because you're playing a little bit more reactively, trying to wait for the right time to flip the board and control the board. It's hard to say. I think just because we have one Consecration, we take the Argent Protector. But I think first Consecration I would take over Argent Protector. So we'll try to stick in some variety here. Stand Against Darkness versus Valfin. Eldritch Horror a bit too slow. I'll take the Stand Against Darkness. Once again, it's a pretty good card. We could have picked the first one because it was up against Consecration, and I think it's just fine here. River Croc, so we don't want any underdrops. We want our early game cards, like our 1, 2s, and 3s, to be well statted. So we don't want to take like a 3-mana 3/3 when there are 3-mana 3/4s in the game. We'll take a 2-mana 2/3 here. Acolyte of Pain does okay. It does pretty well with like any kind of Blessing of Kings buff, any kind of buff up. Silverhand Regent might be a bit too slow as well. It's not a terrible card. It does have that, Silverhand Recruit synergy with Paladin class. Difficult pick. I think I'll take the Acolyte. There are going to be a lot of cases where we want to slow down on the board, but don't want to we want to keep going on the board, but we also want to slow down into something like a Flame Strike or something, and that's where Acolyte of Pain really shines. Yeah, I'll take the Acolyte here. Plus, it does so well with kind of things like Blessing and Kings and whatnot. Raid Leader seems acceptable now that we have Stand Against Darkness. I'll take it here. Divine Favor versus Holy Wrath. This is kind of a cheaper deck. We do have 2 card draw cards, the Azure Drake and the Acolyte. Divine Favor, I always try to pick Divine Favor up, but it always ends up being a bit of a disappointment. I always tell myself I'll never pick it again. Maybe we'll just take our advice and just not try to make a deck around Divine Favor. This also makes it so we just pick up like way too much early game for the rest of our draft. Kind of makes you draft in a certain way, which can be really bad. I'll take the Holy Wrath. It's a little bit underwhelming, the card, but it's not going to have that big of an effect. Like, it's not going to have that big of a negative effect paying 5 mana for another card. Keeper of Voldemort looks like an obvious choice. You don't get hard removal as Paladin, so Keeper of Voldemort is one of the closest things you can get. Warhorse Trainer, once again, with a stand against darkness. I will. I think it's fine. There's pretty good synergy here. We don't want to take an underdrop like 4 mana 3/5. Once again, this is an underdrop as well. Warhorse Trainer is fine. It's slightly understated, but not too bad. Light in the Darkness, I think, is an okay card. Paladin's a class that really, as long as you have something to attack back with, usually you can make a play. So usually if you have like even a 1/1, you can make plays with buffs, or that could help you trade with a weapon or with some removal spell. So detempoing a little bit is still acceptable, especially when you get the stats right back. I'll go with the light, and once again, these are understated anyway, so those aren't necessarily tempo cards. Cult Master seems like it has pretty great synergy in this deck. A lot of this deck kind of has to do with the stand against darkness. I'll take the Cult Master. Let's look at our curve here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 drops. 1 4 drop. Probably need the 4. Evil Heckler, we'd much more prefer the 4/5 as opposed to the 5/4, just because we want to make sure we have early game dominance. We don't want something like Evil Heckler to trade down. It'd be much more reliable for something like a Yeti to kill something and get us back ahead than something like Evil Heckler. But it doesn't look like our curve will allow that, so I'll take the Heckler. And it'll be our first taunt card, so that's good. Shredder seems like the easy choice here. See a Shredder, you picked a Shredder. Divine Strength is good. It'll be one of our first like spell buffs, since we don't have Blessing Kings or Seal Champions, so that's nice. Haunted Creeper is excellent. A lot of stats for 2-drop, and we definitely need just something on board to get us going. Got the Raid Leader and the Cult Master for synergy. It's great. Flashing Ghoul. Oh man, I think too much revolves around this Stand Against Darkness. We really don't have the late game either. But I'm gonna say that we don't have a choice here. We could make the argument that we don't have enough 4-drops and take the Frigid Snowball, have the Holy Wrath and the Consecration to synergize. I think Fleshing Ghoul is fine. I think you can go with either one. Couldn't really blame anyone for making either choice here. I'll just go with one here. Competitive Spirit is once again a card that synergizes with Stand Against Darkness. Once again, this is not a choice. We're kind of being forced into this pick here. But we'll take it, because the other two are pretty terrible. Alright, so here it's going to be easy Haunted Creeper, and after this pick, I'm about 2/3 into the draft. I'm going to look at my curve, see if that'll help us kind of identify what we need in the deck. So currently we have 1, 2, 3 2-drops. We would like that to be at around like 5 or 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3-drops, which is more than enough. I'd say about like 4 or 5 3-drops would be good. And 1, 2, 3, 4 drops. I want to pick up like 3 or 4 more 4s, have like 6 or 7. The reasoning behind that, why we want so many 4s, is that we don't have the late game for a really long game. So what we need to do is we need to choose a series of turns to help us finish out games. And if this deck doesn't have the late game, we need our middle game, our mid game to be extremely powerful. So we need a lot of variety of fours and a lot of powerful fours to help push out the win before our opponent stabilizes. So I think here, with that in mind, we want to pick up a lot of 2s and 4s, or I think this deck could go another way still. I think if we do get the happen into a bunch of like North Korean Krakens or Bog Reapers, like a bunch of good late game, like high quality late game, we could still turn it around to a control deck. But I would say that's slightly weaker, seeing as how we don't have any weapons. We don't have a True Silver, and we don't have Argent Lance. We don't have too many spells. We have one Consecration, which is the only tempo spell that we have, or comeback spell. I'm going to say that because of that and the lack of the ability to play reactively, we much prefer this to be a more mid-rangey Paladin deck, which has a really strong 4 curve. So, but the late game deck is still an option, but we will make sure that is our second choice. Here, Divine Spirit, pretty obvious pick. We don't need any more 3s. Spider Tank versus Stormwind Knight. I will definitely need more 4s, but that's not the best 4. I think I'll take a Spider Tank. I'll pick quality over curve over here. I think this barely crosses the border where you kind of want to pick for your curve and kind of deny, you know, a better card. And this is barely past that, where you're thinking this card is too good to pass up for something like Stormwind Knight. So I will go with the Spider Tank, even though we have a lot of 3s. Refreshment Vendor, not great for our deck because we really want to put the pressure on in the mid game. Spawn and Nizaf could be okay. There's a lot riding on this kind of like Guy synergy. We have a Cult Master with the double Haunted Creepers, with the Competitive Spirit, and the Stand Against Darkness. I think Spawn and Nizaf is okay. This 3 curve is too much though. You never want too many of an odd mana cost card, especially if it's like 1, 3, or 5. But I'll take it here, just because this kind of doesn't do what we want it to do. We really don't want to heal our opponents. And Cold Master is great. I think this has now turned into kind of a combo deck, which is a lot more rare in Arena. You don't really get combo decks, and usually it's just like you know, faster decks beating really slow decks, which lose to slightly slower decks, which lose to slower decks than that, which once again we go back in a full circle, lose to the way fast decks. But I think what we found here is a very synergistic deck with a lot of card draw and a lot of synergies with the 1/1s and whatnot. I think we can make something happen with that. Here it's interesting. The thing with Consecration in this deck, although Consecration is a great card, we need the early game dominance. We need to dominate the early game in order for us to have control over our Cult Master. If we don't have anything on board on the turn that we play Cult Master, it's not very useful. So instead of waiting to react with Consecration, we have to take up the River Croc. We have to take the River Croc in order to make sure we are winning on board, so we can get these combos to work. So we will take the River Croc here. Amani Berserker is great here, and I think we have more than enough 3s, so I'm going to pass on that. Keeper of Oldemon, we have no secrets in this. Oh, we do have a secret. A Competitive Spirit. But still, this kind of goes against our 1/1 synergies, so I'm going to pass on the Bomber and take the very obvious Keeper of Oldemon pick here. Kraken is great no matter what, even though it doesn't really fit our like deck game plan. I think we just take it because it's Kraken, right? Probably one of the best cards in the game right now. Better than a lot of spells, even a lot of premium spells in a lot of classes. So that's good. Tuskar Jouster, I think we would fit that in. I am still worried about not having any weapons. Maybe Matter Bomber is okay. We didn't want to take the first bomber because it kills our 1/1, so maybe we could use this in you know, in boards where we are behind and we need something to clutch, because we can't always expect to be ahead of board. That's a difficult one, huh? It also seems like Tuskar Jouster won't win us very many jousts, seeing as how we only have 2 minions that cost more than five or more. So it's a 5-mana 5/5 or a 5-mana 5/4. So I think these stats are similar enough, and now we're just gauging whether we want the Matter Bomber effect or not. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. We're never too afraid to hold it in our hand. We could always hero power and slow down our turns. And if we see that our hand is emptying out early on, on like turns 1, 2, or 3, we can tell that we'll run out of cards. We can start hero powering earlier to try to like fit our curve in. And we can also benefit from that hero power with the Cult Masters and whatnot. So I think I will take the Matter Bomber, and we'll just we'll plan to play it in a smart way. So here's our deck. Definitely some kind of Paladin combo deck with the draw, and our win condition is quite clear to me. We have 2, and it's to out-temp our opponent in the mid game, or to draw a bunch of cards with Cult Master. That seems to be it. But I think it's an okay deck. We're missing a lot of premium spells. No Blessing of Kings, no Seal Champions, no Muster of Battle, no Shield and Minibot, no True Silver, nothing like that. We do have double Uldaman, and we also have, you know, Arch Protector. I would say those are the only premium Paladin spells we have. But not a bad deck. I'm gonna have to say that this deck will go pretty weak curve, actually. I'm gonna say 8 or 9. 8 or 9. I think this kind of strategy, this kind of like combo strategy with drawing a lot of cards with Cult Master has come back. It's a lot easier to do now that you know, there's more cards, minions, especially in the pool, that people get less spells in their drafts. So they get less chances to counter things like Stand Against Darkness or, you know, pop Tonic Reapers. So I'm gonna say it's gonna go 8 or 9. And that's pretty much it for this draft. I'm Templestorm Ratsmah. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to follow me on Twitch. I stream on twitch.tv/Ratsmah, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.